In this video, we're going to be fixing one of the biggest flaws on the F33. Let's go. What's up everyone, I'm Steve and you're watching F33. Now if you like this video, give a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss when a new video drops. Now in my opinion, one of the biggest flaws in the F33 is how BMW configured the top to open and close. The three biggest issues I have with how the top operates are the lack of one-touch operation, the speed limitation of 11 miles an hour, and the distance at which the top can be operated remotely. I can't tell you how many times the speed limitation has bitten me while trying to put the top up as it starts to rain. I mean, I can definitely see limiting the speed at some level. I mean, you don't want to be opening the top while you're cruising down the highway, but 11 miles an hour seems really slow. It's also really annoying that the entire time you're trying to open and close the top, you have to hold the switch. Now, the distance at which the top operates remotely is also an issue. You have to be right next to the vehicle in order to operate it remotely, and the radius is so tight that sometimes if you're in front of the car, right in front of the hood, there's a good chance that you're already too far away for it to operate. Now, MODS4CARS saw these flaws and built what I think is probably one of the best mods for any convertible. The SmartTOP module adds customization to the top at a level that I haven't seen before. I don't have enough time in this video to show all of the configurations possible, but I'm going to be putting out a video that shows how to configure it, all the different options, and the pluses and minuses to those configurations. Now in this video, I'm going to go over the installation and review of the SmartTOP module, but again, I'll be putting out another video that goes over all of the config options available. But at a high level, these are the settings that I used for this video. All right, so why don't we head out to the car, we'll get the SmartTOP module installed, and then I'll go over and review it and show you how it works.
With your roof closed, open the trunk and remove the floor liner. The convertible top controller is a white box and it sits right underneath the rear stiffening brace in a foam pocket. Before we can get to it, we need to remove the screwdriver that sits in the foam and release the clip that holds the controller's cables in place. Slide the convertible top controller out so that you can access the three connections on the front. The one we're going to be concentrating on is the black connection in the middle. I found that because the cables on the outer white plug are so stiff, it's easier to remove that connection first so that we have better access to the black connection in the middle. These connections are locked in place by a lever with a tab on the top. To remove the connection, press the tab at the top of the plug and move the lever down until the plug is released. Your kit comes with a T-harness that's going to sit in between the car and the controller. Connect the locking end of the T-harness to the roof controller and lock it in place. Ensure that the guides are lined up correctly before moving the lever to seat the connection. Make sure that you hear the tab on the top click so that you know the connection is properly locked in place. If you removed the outer white connection, go ahead and reinstall that one as well. Now that we have the connections in place on the controller, go ahead and slide it back into the foam. This is going to make it easier to manage the cables as we make our last few connections. Next, connect the other end of the T-harness to the OEM plug and lock it in place just like all the others. Now, one thing I saw in the forums is that people weren't fully seating these connections, which would cause the top to not function correctly. If this happens to you, just check your connections and try again. Now's a good time to lock those cables in place and put the screwdriver back in the foam. Connect the SmartTOP module to the remaining plug on the T-harness, making sure that the connection is fully seated and clicks. Tap the unlock button on your key fob once to activate the SmartTOP module. After you do this, you should see a green data LED start blinking, and that means you're good to go. Use some isopropyl alcohol and the supplied Velcro to clean and mount the SmartTOP module in place. It's important to mount it in a location that will allow it to breathe and not overheat. I found that this hollow area under the stiffening brace works really well. Now that everything's connected, we can put the floor liner in place and close the trunk. All right, let's go test it out. You can operate the top remotely a couple different ways. You can either hold the lock or unlock button for 4 seconds, or you can tap them 3 times in 1 second intervals. The lock button is going to close the top, and the unlock button is going to open the top. You can operate the windows remotely just like the top. It's just different intervals. So the intervals for the windows are holding the lock or unlock buttons for 2 seconds, or you can tap them twice in 1 second intervals. One of the standout features of the SmartTOP module is the one-touch operation. I love that you can just pull it up or tap it down and the top will operate all on its own. No longer do you need to hold it while you're speeding up or slowing down to a stoplight. I also like that you can operate it at higher miles per hour than you could OEM. OEM, you were stuck with 11 miles an hour. With this, you can start the top operation at 25 miles an hour. Now keep in mind that while the top is in operation, you can actually go higher than 25 miles an hour, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it. So just keep that in mind when you start the top. Just keep the speed still at that lower speed. Don't start the top and then, get up to 50 miles an hour. Another one of my favorite features is the ability to start opening the top remotely, get in the car, start the engine, and just drive away. The same holds true for getting out of your car. Just click the button to start closing the top, turn off the car, and get out. You can even use the comfort access to lock the door on your way out. And starting and stopping the engine no longer interrupts the top, which is awesome. No longer do you have to sit there in a parking lot, wait for the top to finish closing before you get out of the car. Honestly, after installing this mod, I don't think I could ever go back.
Now, as you saw, installing the SmartTOP module is really easy and only takes a few minutes to install. I absolutely love how it's plug and play and so customizable. Now, like I said, I'll be putting out another video where I go over the various options and how to customize the SmartTOP module, so stay tuned for that. Now, I did want to give a word of caution if you operate the top while driving, and this really goes for any speed, whether you customize it or not. Make sure that you don't accelerate too aggressively or go over large bumps, as doing this can really damage the hinge top mechanics. And I wanted to give a shout out to MODS4CARS for creating such an amazing mod. And I wanted to make sure that I also mentioned that they have modules available for tons of makes and models. So if you have a convertible, even if it's not an F33, go ahead and visit their site and see if they have a module for your ride. Now, as always, I have put links in the description below to all the products and tools needed for this install. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that like button, smash it if that's what you're into, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.